What's up, everyone? Welcome to the February 3rd edition of the NBA Bet Pro video. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. You can follow me on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. We have 8 NBA games to talk about tonight, and we're going to walk through the NBA Bet Pro model. If you're not already familiar, this is our prop betting model. It's powered by our DFS projections. The same team that does those, puts all the work into those, and has been successful in DFS is working on prop betting now as well. We've had success with this tool, and it's something that should help you step up your prop betting game pretty much regardless of how experienced you are. There's a lot of data in this tool that should be helpful to you. If you have not already signed up, take advantage of a 7-day free trial. It's likely to pay for the subscription going forward, but you'll be able to play around with this tool, figure out how you can incorporate it into your process to make you a better prop better. And we're going to walk through a few of the best options using this tool, starting at BetMGM. We do have the back-end issue fixed there that we had the last couple of days, so good to go. And we have LaMelo Ball leading the way, over 3.5 three-pointers at -110. We have him projected for 5.1 threes, which gives you a 60% chance of winning this wager and a 15% expected return. The S-bet percentage that you're going to see here, it's defined up at the top, but it's the percentage of your bankroll that we recommend wagering on the given bet. It's a function of how often you're expected to win and what the odds are. We recommend wagering 12.3% of your bankroll on over 3.5 threes from LaMelo. And the SEV, also defined at the top, is the percentage of your bankroll that, or the percentage by which you can expect your bankroll to grow if you bet the recommended amount. If you bet the 12.3% on this wager, you expect your bankroll to grow by about 1.26%. Moving over to Caesars, LaMelo Ball once again at the top at a slightly worse price at -113. If you're not familiar, the best bets tab over here is very useful. If you're somebody that has a bankroll on multiple sports books, it's going to just quickly show you where you're getting the best prices. But you can also clearly go to the individual tabs. If you only have money on Caesars, LaMelo Ball is still a good bet. It's just not quite as good as it was on BetMGM, where the price was a little bit better. Moving beyond Ball, you have Kevin Huerter, over 2.5 three-pointers at +110. We have him projected for 3.3 three-pointers here. No De'Aaron Fox tonight in a great matchup against Indiana. It does increase the chances of Huerter, 1, playing a few more minutes, and 2, getting up a couple of extra shots. We expect this wager to win 53% of the time, which gives you an 11% expected return. We recommend wagering 7.6% of your bankroll, and you can expect it to grow by 0.57%. Now, before we move on to DraftKings and FanDuel, one more reminder, take advantage of the 7-day free trial. Figure out how you can use this tool to help you make some more money in prop betting. Now, over to DraftKings, LaMelo Ball again at the top. Second, we have Cameron Johnson, under 3.5 rebounds.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com No House Advantage Strategy Show. Coming in hot off a couple good days here. If you guys are just stumbling upon us, well, that's okay. We'll quickly, because we only got 30 minutes here, quickly give you a way to get $100 first match deposit bonus, give you a little insight on how to play over at No House Advantage. Take advantage, no pun intended whatsoever. Actually, I hate that I have to say that. The name messes me up, but anyway.
I know it does.
Always does, because I always say you should take advantage of this, but it just doesn't flow right. Look, teach you how to use the overlay to your advantage. Not only that, though, but use all of our tools. Exploit our tools to the highest possibility, and I'm telling you right now, if there's ever a site and all the tools at No House Advantage, you guys know this, it's Stokastic for No House Advantage. For you, most of you know this, they're free, entirely free. So they're going to help us a lot. Greg and I did the show Wednesday. We went 9 of 10. Ooh. So Neil, this is my first time back since then. Let's try and go 10 for 10 today, man.
All right, let's do it. Did you see the news that broke literally as we were starting the show, though?
I'm about to, right?
I'll just tell you.
Cameron Johnson.
Yeah, he's our top. He's like several of our top picks today are Cameron Johnson. He was just ruled out completely out of nowhere. So we do lose our top props of the day, but we have plenty of good ones to talk about here.
Yeah, there's a lot to get into. This should be no problem whatsoever. Again, you're not going to get all 95 percenters. And what I mean by this is the odds that they hit the over or the under, all of that over at Stokastic, under the NBA drop down, free tools. Again, totally free. If you're just stumbling upon here, use the link in the description, use the link in chat. Sign up using the link to get your $100 first match deposit bonus. Use the free tools. The overlay at No House Advantage is crazy. And there's just so many ways to exploit this. There really are. I mean, using these tools to help us make the right plays, also using, our own stats and our own intuition here, it's going to put us in the right position. So what we'll do, I did one show with Neil, and then the second No House Advantage show that I've done ever was with Greg on Wednesday. And it just kind of came to me like, hey, what are we doing? Why don't we just pick 10 plays, right? Like that makes the most sense. We just pick 10 plays. We go back and forth. We pick 10 and we end up filling out a lineup on our own. You're just building lineups without any salary, over, under, no juice on either side, static props. They don't change. We'll talk about what guys belong in the top spots, what guys we don't feel as comfortable in, but we'll go through 10. And we're happy to have you guys with us. So as always, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, follow Neil at Player Q DFS on Twitter, me at Laffy_D. And let's get into this one. We only have so much time, so I'll save the pleasantries. But Neil, I'll let you kick this one off. We're going to go 10. The first ones we do usually are somewhere, they're going to settle somewhere into the top spots, to keep that in mind. Then we'll start to thin out the herd a little bit, and we'll have to get a little bit more selective. So what are you thinking?
I'm going to say right off the top of the bat, Isaiah Stewart. So we lost all these Cam Johnson, Isaiah Stewart also littering the top of the leaderboard. I think, I might as well just go with his rebound prop, right? We've got the line at 10.5. We're projecting Isaiah Stewart for 7.4 rebounds tonight. We have the under hitting 87% of the time. He's just been losing time to Jalen Duren. He's just not getting the minutes that he was earlier in the year. Even on the season, he's averaging 8 rebounds per game. So on the season, he is hitting below this 10.5 rebound prop. But then recently he's played even fewer minutes with Jalen Duren taking on a bigger role for the Pistons. So I think I like the under on 10.5 rebounds for Isaiah Stewart.
Okay. I'm going to flip to the other side, and I'm going with Damian Lillard here. I talked about this a lot on Wednesday. We were at over 23.5, just felt like an absolute smash spot there. I'll go straight back to this one. Now, out of the gate, right? Out of the gate, you look at our projections. We've got him projected 1,000 points higher than that. So that's the first thing you're looking at here. We have him right now at what? 33 points today. We have him at 33.4. His No House Advantage prop line is 24.5. If you want to go back, look since January 8th. Okay. Let's talk about this for a second. Since January 8th, he has gone under this number one time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 games. The only time he went under, he scored exactly 24 points, and that was against the LA Lakers. Could have been better, is what it is. 12 of his last 13, he's gone over this mark. I mentioned this too, and I'll say the same things I said before. The usage rate, 35% over that stretch. He's getting to the line at an insane clip. Whenever you get a guy, he's gone to the line 33 times over his last 2 games. He's hit 32 of them. All right. You're getting elite production at the line that can protect you from not shooting well, even if you have a poor shooting performance, jacking up double-digit threes per game, 20-plus field goal attempts, 24.5 points here. Seems like an absolute smash spot to hit the over. And if you're looking for one more reason to do that, if I haven't already given you enough, go over to DraftKings. What does his points prop look like? I'll tell you, 34.5. It's 10 points lower than his actual points prop, and that's at -110. So, yeah, Damian Lillard over 24.5 points. I would put that in my 10 spot all day long. When you get a guy 10 points lower than his prop at traditional books, smash that. What do you got next, Neil?
Yeah, I like that one a lot. Yeah, I'm looking at the unders. Like some of our top picks on the day are a little bit fragile to me just because a lot of them are Tyrese Maxey, and Joel Embiid is questionable in this game. And I think that there is some chance that Joel Embiid misses the game, in which case all of these Tyrese Maxey rebound props are going to be a little bit off. We have the unders on some Tyrese Maxey rebounds. He's maybe more likely to pick up some extra boards with Joel Embiid out. So I'm going to go on the fun side of it and take an over as well. I'm going to go with Lauri Markkanen over 20.5 points. We've got De'Aaron Fox out in this game, so Lauri Markkanen should see a usage boost. Historically, he does see a usage boost with De'Aaron Fox out. The line is just 20.5. We're projecting Lauri Markkanen now. That was not where I was planning on going. Domantas Sabonis. I was meaning to go to Domantas Sabonis, and then I switched to Lauri Markkanen at the last minute. Domantas Sabonis, 5.5 assists. I want to take the over there just because we have De'Aaron Fox out. Domantas Sabonis should be seeing more usage with Fox out. He's playing against, it doesn't really matter that he's playing against his former team, but maybe it matters a little bit. Maybe he's going to see the ball a little bit more since he is playing back against the Pacers, who he started his career with, played most of his career with. So just add a little bonus, but just De'Aaron Fox being out, we have Domantas Sabonis projected for 7.3 assists. The line is just 5.5. Even if he only hits, if he hits 6, that's above 5.5. So he's got a little wiggle room there. So I like taking the over on 5.5 assists for Domantas Sabonis.
Would you put this towards the top for you?
Honestly, it's tough. I don't think we have as clear-cut top picks today as we often do. Like sometimes we have several picks that are 90 to 95% chance of hitting. I'm not all that confident in the ones that we have today in that range, just because we lose all these Cameron Johnson. Like those are some of our top picks on the day. I'm looking at the unders that have the best odds, and I'm not all that confident in that many of them. So I think I probably would put it near the top.
Okay. So there's still some really good spots that we can talk about, no question. I do like some of these over on point totals, though. Like Damian Lillard, clear. I think it's just a clear smash spot. That would be my personal 10 spot. I think would be the Damian Lillard. Just so we're all on the same page here. That matters, right? Like we had Alperen Sengun as one of our plays. Both Greg and I liked him a lot on Wednesday. He ended up somehow not getting over that point total without Jalen Green against who are they facing in that game? It was 2 bad teams. I can't remember who they were facing. Chat will tell me. It was Houston and it's going to drive me insane.
It wasn't the Timberwolves, was it?
No, it wasn't the Timberwolves. It was it'll come.
The Kings? The Kings?
No, it wasn't the Kings. It was another bad team. It was Thunder. It was the Thunder. They were facing the Thunder.
Yeah. That's right.
And I mean, Thunder, look, defensively, they're not as bad as they've looked, or as you would think they are this year. Of course, losing Lou Dort doesn't help them, but the front court defense shouldn't really be all that great. They got the win over the Thunder despite being dogs. He played 33 minutes. He just only attempted 10 shots. He was 4 for 10, and it was an underwhelming game. But my point is, if you had put that at your 10 spot, would have sucked because you would have had 9 out of 10, and then your 10 spot is is a dud. So try and avoid that. But I do like another over here. Just another, again, high volume shooter in a great matchup. We have him projected for 7 more points than his prop today. I'm going to hit Joel Embiid here. 74% chance of hitting the over, according to our No House Advantage tools. I like that straight out of the gate. The guy has a massive usage rate no matter who's on the floor. Not to mention that with Maxey coming off the bench, you're just getting more usage to Embiid and to James Harden. I mean, Tobias Harris is kind of whatever at this point. He has a 38% usage rate this year. Joel Embiid, 38% usage. And if you're wondering, oh, you go to Embiid and you go to Lillard, yep, guess what? 2 guys that attempt some of the most free throws in basketball. I'm looking all this stuff up on the fly for you guys. So if I take some time to pause for a second, it's only because I'm trying to get you the numbers here. But free throw attempts on the season, yeah, Joel Embiid is 2nd in the league. Damian Lillard is 5th in basketball. Embiid with 11.6 per game, going up against the worst defense in basketball, going up against a top 9 pace team in the league. There's not a lot to really dislike here. 234.5 total. His points prop sits at 33.5. So, and that's over on traditional books like DraftKings, minus 115 to the over. These are just 2 spots, I think, that are too good to pass up. Joel Embiid will have some down games, but generally speaking, in a spot like this, assuming he plays, of course, in a spot, and he's been questionable, but he's played through all of them. I think Joel Embiid gives you another great chance for a 30-plus point game. We only need 28, though, in this spot. Really good matchup, too, Neil.
Yeah, for sure. Love the matchup. We do have to make sure, obviously, that Embiid is playing. He's questionable currently, but yeah, if he's playing, he's going to be, I would expect him to be a full go. So I like that call quite a bit. And if you're going to go with a Sixers player, then I'm going to go with the Timberwolves player. I like the over on Anthony Edwards, 22.5 points. Ant is averaging 25 points per game this year. We've got him projected for 27 points in this matchup with the Magic. Not a particularly high pace team, the Magic. They are towards the bottom of the league in terms of pace, but they are also 22nd in the league in terms of defensive rating. So it's a nice spot in terms of the matchup for Ant. He also was just a huge snub in the All-Star game, clear All-Star for Anthony Edwards, but he was snubbed. So I like going to Ant here in this spot, just not really factoring in the All-Star stuff. I'm throwing in a lot of narrative here in my picks, but without the narrative, Anthony Edwards also looks like a great pick. He's averaging 25 points per game. The line is too low, and we haven't projected to go above his season average tonight in this matchup with the Magic. So I like Ant quite a bit.
You went to, yeah, and so look, again, you just have high volume shooters, number one. Number two, you have a guy that's playing massive minutes right now. Look at the playing time we've seen on Anthony Edwards recently. You're talking about potential 40 minutes in regulation. You know, obviously there's always blowout risk in any game where they don't play or foul trouble, but this day doesn't really profile that way. 4.5 point spread, 229.5 point total. Orlando's healthy enough to keep this game competitive. Yeah, I like that. Plus, what's it at, 22.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gone over that number now in 8 straight games. So you're getting a lot of production out of him. He's not a guy that gets to the line a ton, but he just gets so many shots up. When you have that type of usage, when you have that type of minutes, you can still have an inefficient scoring performance and get over it. Now, I'm not usually looking to just take all unders or all overs, on these guys.
Yeah,
but I do think there are some good ones. I'm going to flip to the other side, though, and take an under here because you mentioned Maxey, but you didn't end up going to Maxey, right? You went to Sabonis?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. I think we do need to talk about Maxey here. The minutes that he was playing pre-injury were significantly higher than what he's playing now. That isn't to say that he doesn't still get the 30, 31 minutes, right? We've seen that. We've seen 31, 28, 31 minutes over his last 3 games. But you've now got a player that you would say, okay, well, off the bench, he should be getting, more opportunity. Not necessarily true, though, because he's essentially always on the floor with one of Joel Embiid or James Harden. Like last game in the first half, he played 1.5 minutes without either of those guys on the floor. And then, of course, you're going to get Tobias Harris out there for much of the time that he's out there as well. That's not like you've got Maxey strictly running the second unit. If that was the case, I would look at this a whole lot differently. Second half of that game, right? He comes in at the 5 or at the 7 minute mark, and he plays almost all of them alongside Joel Embiid and a lot of them alongside James Harden. And then you're thinking second half, he's going to close out with these guys. He does, but you've got Joel Embiid and Harden on the floor for the same amount of time. So you're taking away assist opportunities. He's not a particularly good rebounder at all. In order for Tyrese Maxey, really, if we were to break this down, get a little granular here, if I don't understand this 28.5. I really don't understand 28.5 points, rebounds, and assists. To get there, you need a huge scoring performance from him. He's simply not doing enough anywhere else on the floor right now, playing alongside Embiid and Harden a lot, despite the fact that he's coming off the bench, which means it really only takes minutes away from him. Outside of getting like maybe 3 or 4 minutes per game with both of them off the floor, under 28.5, unless he goes nuclear as a scorer, which can happen, although he hasn't been shooting particularly well, under 28.5 is actually one of my top spots of the day. I would go Lillard number 1 over points. My number 2 spot, my number 2 favorite pick here would actually be Maxey under 28.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He could score 23 points and still go under this number.
Yeah. So the reason I did not take Maxey is because of my concern with Embiid playing, but we're already making the bet that Embiid is going to play, right?
He's been questionable every game and he's playing every game. So
yeah. So I think it's probably a safe bet that Embiid plays. And if Embiid plays, then I'm with you. That is a great bet. So as long as we're already making the bet, we could probably move this up a couple of spots. Like I do have more confidence in this one than the Ant pick, at least. I think actually probably more confidence than either of my past 2 picks, assuming that Embiid is in the game. I was hesitant just because of, the Embiid Q tag, but yeah, you're right. It's probably likely that Embiid does play. And, if we're playing Embiid in the lineup, we're already making the assumption that Embiid is going to play. So I like this pick, and I think we can rank it fairly highly. So I'm with you on Maxey. Next, I would take Mikal Bridges, the under on his rebounds prop. Let's see, it is at 5.5 rebounds. We're projecting Mikal Bridges for 3.9 rebounds. We have the under hitting 80% of the time. It's one of our top picks on the day. He just doesn't rebound. He doesn't get 5.5 rebounds per game. He's been playing huge minutes recently and still not hitting that. The past few games, Mikal Bridges has played the last game just 30 minutes, but prior to that, 39 minutes, 41 minutes, 42 minutes, just playing massive minutes. And still in those games, he has not gotten over 5 rebounds. In fact, the last time that he got 5 rebounds, you got to go back. I don't know. This looks like, I'm not going to count it out, maybe 11 games, but all the way back to January 10th is the last time he had more than 5 rebounds in a game. He's just not a rebounder who's going to typically get more than 5 rebounds in a game. So just based on his season average, and there's really nothing. I mean, Devin Booker's been out. Devin Booker doesn't really affect Mikal Bridges' rebounding line. So there's really no reason to think that he's going to get more than 5.5 rebounds here. I like the under on 5.5 for Mikal Bridges.
Okay. So here's one that interests me quite a bit. And it might be one that's kind of slipping through the cracks here, but I don't think it should be. So you've got a guy in Buddy Hield that, of course, Tyrese Halliburton returned to action. My assumption is because they are playing second of a back-to-back today, right?
Yep.
I think you could definitely see Halliburton sit this one out, but I wouldn't be super concerned if he plays either, because it gives you a great playmaker on the court. It gives you somebody else that's going to free up guys like Buddy Hield, get him better looks as well. If he's out, obviously Buddy Hield looks even better, but I still like Buddy Hield over 2.5 made threes in this spot. You're talking about a Sacramento team that plays at a highly elevated pace. Every time these teams play, or every time the Sacramento Kings are on the floor, you're simply looking at a spot where you go, oh, okay, so what's the total going to be? 235 or higher every single time. This is 235.5. Of course, Sacramento without De'Aaron Fox today, which is why we can get more into the Sacramento side in a second if we can find some spots there. But I do like Buddy Hield in this spot. Now, these 3-point-1s are always a little bit tricky because even if they're attempting them, they're not necessarily going in. But the amount of volume that you see from him as a 3-point shooter in a pace-up spot, well, not even pace-up. Both these teams play fast-paced, high-scoring game. Buddy Hield over 2.5 made threes. Looks like another good spot to me. Keep your eye on Halliburton. Of course, there are some big spots that we have to pay attention to from an injury perspective, but I really wouldn't be at all surprised if Halliburton sits. I'm looking now to see if there's any props on him. I bet I doubt there are. There can't be any. Maybe there are. Let me see.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yes, there are. There are Tyrese Halliburton props, but there's nothing on Buddy Hield. So yeah, that makes sense because if you're playing in hopes that Buddy Hield doesn't play or that Halliburton doesn't play, they're not going to post anything else. The only props that we have for Indiana are Halliburton. So if he sits, then they can adjust and it voids. And if he plays, then they'll add everything else. But I think Buddy Hield over 2.5 threes looks good today. My guess is that would be juiced pretty heavily to the over once they do drop some props for him and drop some 3-point props for him on traditional books.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I think that Tyrese Halliburton is going to sit. I think it's more likely that he sits, but either way, he's probably going to be limited. So I like that call quite a bit. You said you want to look at the other side of that game. So I looked one up that I like. Kevin Huerter under. We have over 13.5 points is the line. We have him projected for 15.6 points in this game. We have the over hitting 61% of the time. He sees a usage bump with no De'Aaron Fox on the floor. We see a usage bump of 2.1% higher usage with no De'Aaron Fox on the floor for Kevin Huerter. He should have the ball in his hands a little bit more than usual. And what's his season? I mean, is it even 1 second? Yeah, I'm not sure how many we are at currently. I feel like we've got to be getting it. He's averaging 15.1 points per game this year already, and now no De'Aaron Fox on the floor. I'm honestly surprised that we don't have him projected a little bit higher. His usage, doesn't get a huge bump without De'Aaron Fox, but I guess it makes sense. We have projected for 15.6, so just over his season average, but I think it's a little bit safer with no De'Aaron Fox on the floor. So I like the over on 13.5 points for Kevin Huerter.
I'm sitting here thinking, and maybe chat can tell me, do we want to go back to Şengün here? Because I still I
think so. I like it. I think we do. Are we talking about an over or an under?
Over.
Okay.
I mean, even we have him only projected for 4.1 assists. Our tools don't like that. But yesterday was the first game. 2 days ago was the first game for Şengün since Kevin Porter went down early in that game on the 11th that he hasn't had more than 6 assists. It's the first game in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's the first in 10 games, man. I like it.
Let's go against the tools for one. It's fun sometimes.
Let's do it. All right.
Go off on our own.
I still think that Şengün is positioned nice. Here's the one thing I don't like, and I voiced my concerns on this last show, so it's not like I'm going against what I said. I said the one thing that worries me a little bit is the fact that, of course, Jalen Green, who is really their best scorer, their biggest gunner, the fact that he's not going to be on the floor, and that sucks. But at the same time, they still got the win. 112-106, not a particularly thrilling game, but I still can't help but think that he's going to have every opportunity to control this game. I want to see his potential assists from that game, because it would be crazy to me if, let's see if I'm right here. He still had 13 potential assists. Daishen Nix had 6. Jayshawn Tate had 7. Gordon had 4. 13 potential assists. I mean, it's just, it's still there. If you run this back to the 11th of January, how many potential assists is Şengün averaging per game? Let's see. That's when Kevin Porter got hurt.
Yep.
If you run it back to that date, it's 11.3. So like he had more, he had 13 potential assists and only finished with 4. I think you continue to see more. You don't need him to have a huge game, but once again, we only need him to get to 5. Give me Şengün. Give me Şengün over 4.5 assists, Neil. I'm going to go back to this one, or to a Şengün over. I know it's not the greatest matchup against Toronto. I know this Houston team isn't particularly good, but I still think he's going to have to do a ton if they want to keep this game competitive. I'm not really sure where else the production as a playmaker comes from. It's got to come from Şengün in large part.
Yeah, Toronto, I mean, kind of a slow pace, but they are 20th in terms of defensive rating. And Şengün is just going to have to do so much for the Rockets with Kevin Porter Jr. out. As you pointed out, we've got Jalen Green out once again, and then Jabari Smith now questionable as well. I don't know if that actually helps him either way, but he's going to have plenty of usage. He's going to have the ball in his hands plenty. I mean, their point guards are Daishen Nix and Ty Washington. Like they're not using these guys as playmakers. Şengün is the best playmaker. And to Brandon Katz's point about Kevin Huerter in chat, he points out that Kevin Huerter has struggled at times scoring since his injury. So he missed a couple games, but in the 9 games since those games that he missed, he's hit the over on 13 points 5 times, and that's with De'Aaron Fox. So I'm not all that concerned about. He's only scored 5 and 3 points in the most 2 recent games, but I'm not that concerned about it. He should see a usage bump without De'Aaron Fox in there. And as I said, since he was inactive a couple games, he has hit the over 5 out of 9 times. So he just gets another little cookie with De'Aaron Fox out. So I still like the Huerter pick.
Sure. How many are we at, Mike? Boom. Can we recap these? Can we get, throw them up on the screen. We'll see what the top ones are. All right. So we've got, what did we start it off with? Can you scroll up, Mike? All right. So Damian Lillard over 24.5 or 23 and 24.5. Like I said, man, when you got a book posting like DraftKings 34.5, the under's not even juiced. That to me is a great spot. Neil, you had Domantas Sabonis. What was it? Over what? 5.5 assists. Yeah, that's a fantastic spot with De'Aaron Fox sideline for this one as well. Not to mention in a particularly appealing matchup, Isaiah Stewart under
10.5
rebounds. 10.5 rebounds.
He hasn't been playing that much. Yeah.
Hard for me to see this.
It's a little bit blurry for me too. I can't read all of them that well.
Yeah, me neither. Joel Embiid over 27.5 points. That sits at 33.5, 34.5 at every book. Of course, make sure he's playing, or at least we'll get some confirmation. Anthony Edwards over 22.5 points. Usage has been through the roof, playing upwards of 40 minutes in regulation. Maxey under 28.5 points, rebounds, and assists. That's one of my favorites today. Really simply given the fact that off the bench, you're not getting the same minutes. You're not getting enough playing time without Embiid and Harden on the floor. And he hasn't been taking over games like we've seen in the past. Not to mention a lot of games Maxey blew up. One of Harden or Embiid was off the floor anyway. He'd need a huge game to get over that, and he'd need to do so scoring. Mikal Bridges under 5.5 rebounds. Buddy Hield over 2.5 threes. Kevin Huerter over 13.5 points. Is that it? And our boy Şengün, of course. That's the one we're going against the tools, Neil, but it has to be done. Over 4.5 assists.
Good one for the one spot, right?
What's that?
It's a good one for the one spot when we're going against the tools.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, exactly. Right. That's the thing. We're putting that at the bottom. That's not going at the top. But I think it could be a whole lot worse. Listen, I'm seeing 6.5 spots on his assists at some books right now. So, let's see what we get. Any last thoughts before we get out of here?
We just had a question. What about Porzingis? Yeah, Porzingis looking at his over. We like the over on 19.5 points. I'm not sure exactly what prop you're talking about, Michael, but I'm looking at Michael Kristaps. 19.5 points is the line. We haven't projected for 22 points. We have the over hitting 62% of the time. So I think that's another one that, it's definitely a good bet, but I put it probably in the bottom half of my board somewhere.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Remember, link down in the description and in chat. You're trying to get $100 first match deposit bonus. Of course, all the tools that we talked about today, the ones that Mike had up on the screen, they're free to use. Obviously, you'll have to decide how you want to formulate these lineups, but we even have the optimal lineups tool that if you're in a rush is putting together the best optimal lineups 1 through 10 for you. And we have all of the projections for versus the house over at No House Advantage, where if you hit all of your picks, you're 21xing your entries. So a lot of different ways to get it done. Take advantage of the overlay, take advantage of the free tools, take advantage of No House Advantage. How about that, Neil? That's how I'm going to do it from
really well said. I like that. Kind of punny.
Yeah. There it is. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you back here soon. Hit that thumbs up on the way out. Let's win some money tonight. Go 10 for 10. Peace.